Hello friends, I'm Suzette, also known as Primitive Stitcher, here on FlossTube as well as Instagram. It's been a minute. I think it has been maybe about 6 months since my last update. I want to welcome you here for my new update. Welcome to those who may be new here. Thank you, and thank you for coming back if you visited before. Like I said, my last update was maybe around July, August of 2020, and just life got busy. I was busy with work, busy with stitching, and busy with trying to take care of myself and my family. But thank you to all of you who reached out to me to check on me. I appreciate it, but hopefully we're back on track. No promises here. In case I forgot to mention, today is Friday, February 26th. It was a teacher work day. I managed to get all my work done early, so what better time to stitch film a video and stitch later. What am I going to talk about today? I have notes, so if I look down, that's why I'm looking down. I'm going to share with you my 2020 finishes. I had a total of 44 for the year, but I'm only going to show you the ones that I've completed since my last update. We're also going to talk about my finishes for this year, which have been 5. I'm going to show you my current works in progress and explain my method behind why I'm stitching what I am. And we'll talk about my future plans, and I do have a few things that I purchased that I would like to share if we have time. So let's go ahead and get started. And these finishes from my last update, they are in no particular order. It's just how they came out of the basket. And they were ironed at one point, so there may be a few wrinkles. The first one I'm going to show you is called Halloween Jack Sewing Roll by Stacey Nash. And this is my finish. None of these are fully finished, but I do intend on making this into a sewing roll. And I stitched this one on 32 count raw linen using just the call for DMC 310. My next finish is by Samplers Not Forgotten, and let me take my note off of here. And it's called Bouquet 1813, and I bought the kit form. So I used everything that was in the kit. I think it was 36 count Weeks Dye Works tin roof and Weeks Dye Work floss. And that was a quick little stitch. So pretty. And I most likely will make that into a little pin pillow. Next up is Needle and Thread by With Thy Needle and Thread. And I used the call for overdyed floss for this. And this is on 36 count mellow. It's at the Zweigart base. Pardon the wrinkle there. There's a lot of stitches in that lady's skirt and in the grass, but so cute. Then I finished, excuse me, Tomato Tart by Heart in Hand. And I think I'm going to put this in a little tart pan. This is on 30 count cappuccino by Weeks Dye Works, using the Call for Weeks Dye Works floss. I think this was one of my lunchtime projects at school. And then another With Thy Needle and Thread, Coming to America. I purchased this kit from Kitten Stitcher, and I believe my kit had the 40 count XJU Designs fabric and all the Call for flosses. Whoa, way back here. Maybe let's do it half and half. You all have, I'm sure, seen this before. And the bottom half. I enjoyed stitching this. And the borders matched up, so I was very happy with that. Next up are, well, I actually don't have them anymore. I have one, but it's already put away for Christmas. I did some ornaments for my family, and this year I chose some from Foxwood Crossings, Snow Grateful, and I stitched all 3 of those. And then the Saltbox sleds. So the 3 females got the Saltbox sleds, and the 4 males, our 3 males in the family, got the snowmen. And my daughter, one of my daughters actually said that was probably her very favorite ornament that she had received from me, so that made me happy. Then one of my Stitch 10 in 20 pieces was Buttermilk and Blue sampler bag, sewing bag from Stacey Nash. And I stitched this on the Call for 32 count parchment with the Call for Weeks Dye Works, Gentle Arts wool. And again, it's another big piece. And I think I will make it into the sewing bag. I really enjoyed actually working with the wool for the most part. And I typically don't stitch on 30 count linen, but with the wool, you only use 1 strand. So that was nice. And this was some specialty stitches, some over 1, which actually I think the over 1, yes, the over 1, I went ahead and used the Gentle Arts cotton floss in the exact colors that were called for in the wool, because I was not going to attempt that with the wool. So I'm very pleased to have that one finished. And I did actually complete all of my 10 for Stitch 10 and 20 pieces. I think I have one more to show. That was my final piece for that. But up next for what I stitched is this, and I started this like forever ago, and I found it tucked away someplace that I normally do not keep my works in progress, and I'm like, I'm just gonna finish it. It was a free pattern by Tiny Modernist, and it's called Autumn, and I stitched it on some type of even weave with just random DMC thread. And I believe this is still on her website as a free pattern. Okay, next page. Then I stitched a piece as a gift for my other daughter, but I haven't finished it. I mean, I finished the stitching. And this one is called Rose Apothecary, and it was a PDF purchase from Etsy from a shop called Paper Crane Stitches. And I stitched this on an 18 count Aida. It was a lot of stitching, but she loves it, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks I will get it fully finished for her and she can hang it on her wall. Lots of French knots, which are not my favorite, but it turned out really cute. And then my next to last finish for 2020 was the free pattern from Brenda at With Thy Needle and Thread, called Minty Mary. And I stitched this on the Call for French Vanilla 36 count by R&R. It was so cute. And there is my finish. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the candies or not, but I thought he was adorable. And my last finish of 2020 is one called The Old Oak Tree, and it's by Early Workings, and this was a gift. And I don't know what I was thinking when I chose this piece of fabric, but I'll make it work. I'm gonna frame it, but I will make it work. So I stitched this on a piece of random 36 count linen with all the DMC called for. And this was also a lunchtime stitch. I love how primitive this is. So that is all, those are all of my final 2020 pieces. So now I will share with you my finishes that I have thus far in the year. And these again are really maybe somewhat in order of how I stitch them. So my first one is another Stacey Nash, Jenny, one of the animal crackers. And I only stitched Jenny. I'm not sure I'm going to do the nest. I may, but at this time I'm not feeling it. And this is stitched on 36 count vintage homespun by R&R using all of the Call for overdye flosses. And I am going to finish it as she did here. Then this was the final piece in my stitch 10 and 20. And this was a gift from Hedgerow Stitching, Rebecca, a few years back. And it is called Pattern Pretties number 7 by Jeanette Douglas. And while this is not my normal style, I really love this. It reminded me very much of a coverlet that my parents used to have on their bed. And here is the finish of that. And I will make it into a little pin tuck pillow. And this was a kit, and it came with the wool for the backing. And I stitched this on 32 count linen that it came with, and the thread gatherer silk, which was just beautiful to stitch with. finish was from the Blackbird Designs book, Ooh La La. And that's not, yes, that is the piece, called Mon Petit Exemplar. This. And this is stitched on 32 count Legacy by Picture This Plus. And is that the call for? Yes. Using again a Silken Colors silk by the Thread Gatherer and Classic Colorworks silk. There's so many other projects in that book that I want to stitch. So I really like the tone on tone. I know some people don't like that. It's not showing up very well on camera, but in person you can see it a lot better. But I like the tone on tone. Okay, 2 more I think. Boxwood Manor by Stacey Nash. And for right now, I'm just stitching this piece, but I do love this piece as well. And this one is stitched on 36 count Stars Hollow by R&R, which is not what it called for. It called for parchment, but I was just using what I had. And I used the call for Gentle Arts threads in this one. But I love that little dog. It reminds me of my son's lab, Black Lab. Actually, I think the little dog is supposed to be brown, but I made him into a Black Lab. And last but not least, I have another Stacey Nash, surprise, 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 12 Days of Christmas sewing roll. Not a very good picture. And I must say the pattern in a lot of spots was very difficult to read. And it was difficult to look at the photo and figure out what I was supposed to do. So I kind of just winged it on some of it. And this is stitched on 30 count putty by Weeks Dye Works using the DMC. And I will make it into a sewing roll. It was surprisingly a very quick stitch once I got back to it. So that concludes my finishes. Now, let me talk about my whips. And shoot, I think I forgot to get, maybe I did get the photo. So what I have been doing is focusing on, well, one of these works in progress is a new start, and one is a previous work in progress. And so what I've been trying to do is through the week, I will work on an old work in progress, and on the weekend, I get to work on the new start. So my current piece for the week is called God Save the Queen by Shakespeare's Peddler. And I'm stitching this on the 40 count Zweigart Mellow, I think it is, using the call for Weeks Dye Works overdyes. And when I picked this up, this last week, I had this section, this, and God Save. So I completed everything to this side this week. And that dress was a beast because my colors were so similar coming off the skein that it was difficult to tell where I was. But, and I will work on this through the week until it's finished. That's kind of how I've been operating lately. I'll get into how many whips I currently have. I'm not feeling any anxiety over how many whips I have, but at the first of the year, I went through and I went through each one of them and had a look, and I'm like, oh, I love this one. Oh, I love this one. Why haven't I gotten back to this one? And I just fell in love with all of them again and made the decision that I would have very few new starts until I finished some of the ones that I already love. So that's how I've been operating. But I did have a new start, and this one I only get to work on the weekends. And that is one from Jacob at Modern Folk Embroidery called Susanna Walker 1848. And apologies for my printer, it's not the best, but this is sort of what it will look like. And I think this is the original. And I am stitching this on 40 count vintage beeswax by R&R using the call for DMC. And I'll show you the bottom area first. So what I did is I completed the border first, and then I came up and worked on this, did a couple of little motifs here, and then started on the house. And I have one more little section up here on, well, oh no, it's the chimneys that I need to finish on the house. And then I'll move on over and do the motifs up here at the top, and then do the little girls, and then the grass. But I have thoroughly enjoyed working on this. That is a lot of Big Red House. I will put this, well, no, so I'm going to go into my future plans now. I'm going to put God Save the Queen on hold for a little bit. Because I want to join in on Abby Bella Stitch, her upcoming sale called Stitch Asia. And I'm going to be stitching on a piece that I started a few years ago and have worked on during Mania a couple of times. I'm nowhere close to being done with this, but it's called Let Freedom Ring by Lila's Studios. And if you have never stitched one of Lila's pieces, you don't know what you're missing, because her patterns are top notch. They're easy to read, they're easy to follow, a beautiful layout. So this is where I will be starting from. I am going to go up and start on the building. Well, I may work my way up on both sides with the border first. I'm dying to get to the flowers at the top, but I'll leave that as my prize for a finish. So I'm gonna work on this off and on through the month of March. And I can't wait to get back to it. I am stitching this on, what did I say? Not the call for, I think I'm stitching this, on 36 count Ren by Picture This Plus. The called for is something completely different, and I don't know if I remember what it was. I think it was a lighter color, maybe parchment, but I'm not 100% on that. So I'm looking forward to getting back to this. Otherwise, I am going to just limit my new starts and only allow myself to work on the new starts on the weekends and work on a previous piece throughout the week. So I picked out some focus pieces to work on prior to Stitch Mania this year, and most of them have been previous Stitch Mania pieces, because in the past I've always, mostly done 31 starts. I think the very first year I didn't, but the year that I did Stacey Nash, I did 31 starts, and that really added to my list. So currently, as of today, I have 32 works in progress. Again, I'm not feeling anxiety over having that many. For some people, that's not a lot. For some people, that's crazy amount. But I love all the pieces that I have started, and I really want to finish them. And if I keep adding more and more pieces, then the pieces that I have in my whip basket just get neglected. So I picked out some smaller pieces, or what I thought were smaller pieces, to try to finish before Stitch Mania. They were previous Stitch Mania pieces, and I have so far finished 3 of those: Boxwood Manor, 12 Days of Christmas, and the Blackbird Designs piece, the little red sampler. And right now I'm working on the God Save the Queen. But the reason I picked the pieces that I did to focus on is because I'm going to do the Stitch Mania, and I can't remember who the first one was to do this. I'm sorry to not give you credit, but I'm picking back up from last year's Stitch Mania. And so my first piece that I'll work on, and I'll work on it for a total of 8 days, is the Pepper Cricket Farm Charles Wysocki design. I think it's a Dimensions. It was a Dimensions kit. So I've completed everything that was prior to that, and seven things after that, if that makes sense. So I'll work on that for 8 days. Then I will work on Mary Bertus, which is by Stacey Nash, for 3 days, and so on and so on. Some of the pieces I will only get to work on 1 day, but if I finish anything that's in between there, then I just take whatever's above it and add those days onto that. I hope that makes sense. So right now, I only have 11 pieces from previous Stitch Manias to work on in those 31 days. if I finish that, 1, 2, 3, the 3 other focus pieces, then I will have 9 pieces to work on during the 31 Stitch Mania days. It's kind of like a focused Stitch Mania, if that makes sense. I hope it does anyway. So those are my plans, which are always subject to change, as we know. But I've maintained that for almost 2 months now and been fairly successful with it. So I think that I will keep it that way. How long are we? Okay. I think we have time to show my few little purchases. The first one that I want to show you, I have wanted this piece for forever, and I ordered it probably at least 4 months ago, and it just finally arrived. And it's called Dame's Boarding School, and it's by Exemplar Dame's Design Company, and here it is. I'm not sure when I will start it, but at least it's in my collection. And my next purchase, I love this. I think it was Stitch and Frog who was having a special on GGR Designs, and this was an exclusive to Stitch and Frog, and so I fell in love with it. Again, not sure when I will start it. Maybe after Mania, I will allow myself another new start. But this one is called, I'm not sure if it's MJ or MT 1810. And I'm sure the photo does not do it justice, but I just loved all of the birds. And I forgot to check the stitch count on this. It's a good size. Did I bring my glasses? Yes. Hold up. Sorry, I have really old eyes. Okay, so yeah, it is 518 by 396. And they suggest 36 count Weeks Dye Works parchment. I will have a look. I may switch that to 40 count. But I love this. Then Susanna Walker was a purchase from Modern Folk Embroidery. And while I was there, I absolutely had to have the PFW 1858 sampler. And again, my printer doesn't do these photos any favor. But I love that Jacob has instant downloads. I really liked that this was the layout being landscape. And the colors, I love the colors. And I have already I have the threads kitted for this, as well as the next one, just in case I decide to do a random start. This one is called Joan Sands 1839. And it is a Scottish Hogmanay sampler, which, if you don't know, that is a New Year's Eve, New Year's Day kind of thing. And I loved the house. I loved the blue house. So hopefully I'll get to do those sometime soon. The one exception that I am making, I know I said I wasn't, but this is small, and this will probably be my next lunchtime project. is a free one from Jacob at, again, Modern Folk Embroidery. And if you haven't seen his latest video, watch all the way to the end. I appreciate you, Jacob, if you happen to be watching this. This one is called Black Lives Matter Pincushion, and I'm not even going to attempt to explain the design of this, but it's a beautiful story and you should go check it out. And this is stitched on 40 count and it's beautiful. It's a Quaker design with a very important message, and it's double-sided, so there's another design on the bottom of this, or the top, however you look at it. But it's beautiful. And this is free. He does suggest and hope for a donation to a worthy cause. But thank you, Jacob. Just thank you. I think that is all. I have purchased some fabric and some floss, and I will continue to do that, but I'm going to try to work from my stash pattern wise if I do have new starts. That being said, have you all seen Kathy Barrick's new pieces? Maybe I'll ask for a Mother's Day gift from her website, her Etsy store. That way it's not me purchasing it, it's a gift. But anyway, friends, I hope this finds you well. And again, I'm not going to make any promises, but I am going to try really hard to get back on a regular schedule. Hopefully life is kind of evening out a little bit more these days and getting somewhat back to normal work-wise, for me at least. And I can get back on a somewhat regular routine. Until I see you again, I wish you all well. Bye for now.